How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Talaria Boys YouTube channel. Today we have our second video going over the KO Nano controller for the Talaria Sting. In our first video we got it installed. You can see it right there. If I get my shadow out of the way. And I gave it a really quick test ride, but it was dark and it was about 20 degrees outside, so it was absolutely freezing. Today we're going to go over and I'm going to share the new top speed with the controller and the differences that it has made. I've done 4 rides on it. I've drained it all the way down to 0% battery, and I've also had a call with Ben from KO going over all the specs, and we changed a lot and I learned a lot about the tuning process. So I'll be sharing some of my tune and what is working well. And I just wanted to remind you that I am running a stock battery. It has not been bypassed, so it's just the stock power, but getting the controller has been a good thing, and has allowed me to kind of tune it to the way I like. And there really is a lot of parameters. It's really not very difficult to tune, so it's going to be exciting. So let's get into it. Alright guys, the first thing I want to talk about is first impressions on the controller and if it's worth it if you only have a stock battery. So to clear a few things up, you do only get the same amount of power. You do not get more than 6 kilowatts if you're running a totally stock, non-bypassed battery. However, you do get a higher top speed because you essentially, with this new controller, you remove the motor RPM limit. And so I don't know if you've noticed on your Talaria, when you get to its top speed, depending on what chainring you're using, you'll feel the power dip. So when that power dips down, that is when you are hitting your RPM limit, and that's what's limiting your bike. It's not actually the power. So when you're going flat or downhill, you'll notice you hit that top speed, you feel like your bike has more to give. So that's what this controller allows you to do. It allows you to use the full 6 kilowatts of power to a higher top speed. Now, there is no difference going up a steep hill. If your top speed was only 30 miles an hour because you're going up a steep hill, it's still going to be right about the same. And we've tested this with Alex and Reed's bikes, and they both have different sprockets. And so we've been able to test that and do a few things. Still the same amount of power, still drag race is very much the same speed, except for once we get up to speed, I keep accelerating. So that's the main difference. You don't get more power, you do get a higher top speed on flat or downhill. So to answer the question, is an upgraded controller worth it with a stock battery? I think that really depends on if you are planning to upgrade your battery at some point. I think if you plan to just keep your battery stock for the entire life of your bike, it's probably not worth it. Yes, you get that higher top speed. Yes, you get some tunability. But all in all, it's pretty similar when you're running a stock battery, because that does limit you in a lot of ways in the tuning that you can do. So I recommend, if you're planning on keeping your bike stock, you don't really care about that top speed, I would say just keep it stock. If you're going to upgrade your battery and you want to run higher power and do all that stuff, then obviously a controller is a needed accessory. So that is my opinion on that. Next, I would just like to quickly go over some of the questions that I had when I was buying this controller and that I didn't get answers to until I bought it, installed it, had that hour-long meeting with Ben from KO and went over all my settings. And one of those questions is, can I run the controller and the battery all the way down? Is the controller going to turn off? Is it going to limit the bike before it ruins the battery? So like I said, I've ridden this bike down to 0%, and I went over with Ben some of those settings, and ultimately you set your low voltage protection setting. Mine is currently set at 48 volts, and that will keep the battery from ruining itself. Your controller will limit the power, and you can keep riding essentially until the bike fully limits you and turns it off. It will go into a limp mode, which Ben was saying limits you to between 5 and 10 miles an hour on flat, and will not let you really climb any hills because it just doesn't have enough power. So that's one thing I was wondering. You can set it up so your battery is protected and safe. The second thing is regen. So on your battery regen on the stock bike, you of course have your display, and you've got 4 different levels of regen that you can set once your battery has gone below 90%. So that is no longer the case. You can set regen to whatever number you want. However, with this stock display, you have no way of changing it. You cannot even turn it on or off. So you have to go in the Android app, which you could do on the trail, but it's a little bit of a pain. You either have to have your regen set to on or set to off. So it's not just necessarily on or off. You can set that on to whatever regen level you would like. It's totally customizable. But with the stock battery, you are limited in how much you can put back into the battery at one time. And it's a number that's very similar to how the bike feels stock in its highest regen form. So I just want to let you know that you can't just turn it on and off from the display like you could, which is a bummer. But with the new KO display coming out eventually, I'm sure you will be able to do that, and I will definitely be buying that display. So those are some of the main 2 questions that I had when I was getting this controller. Obviously, there are a ton of settings you can change. One I thought was interesting is there's different throttle profiles, so you can do either linear, eco, or sport throttles, and then you can totally customize how those feel. You can do your throttle response. You can change the amount of power that your controller sends through the motor at any given RPM in 500 RPM increments. So you can change that all the way from 500 RPMs all the way up to 8,000 or 9,000. You can do all those things. You can obviously change your amps, your phase amps, and your line current, and how much regen your bike gives. There really are a lot of settings you can change, and it's not that complicated. So, and KO offers their tuning calls or anything to anybody that buys their products, and they can, I promise you, they can really talk you through, help you understand how it all works, and help you get set up properly so that you're happy with your setup. A lot of it does come down to personal preference, so I may at some point share the settings that I end up with after I do a couple more rides, and then you guys can input those, see what you think, and then tweak them to what you think might be better. With that, we're going to move on to the next portion of our video where we go do some top speed tests, because I know you guys are super curious on the new top speed of the bike with the KO controller and also with the 52-tooth sprocket. I will also be testing Reed's bike, which is stock, also with the 52-tooth sprocket, and then one of Alex's family's bikes, which is totally stock, 44-tooth sprocket, stock controller, everything. So we're going to do a speed test on all 3 of those, see the differences. And then you guys let us know in the comments down below any questions you have about the KO Nano controller on the Talaria Sting, any tuning questions. I'm not an expert, but I did, with Ben's permission, record our conversation so that I can go back and reference it and answer any questions that you guys have. Let me know if there's any other speed tests or anything that you want, and we will be sure to make another video kind of going over more thoughts and impressions as we get more accustomed to the controller and as I continue to tune it. So let's jump into some tests, some speed tests. Okay, we have gotten to the ride test portion of this video. We're going to do some top speed runs on these different bikes. We have my bike with the controller and the 52-tooth sprocket. We'll do top speed. We have Reed's bike with a standard controller and a 52-tooth sprocket. And we have Alex's family's bike which is totally stock. So it has a stock 44-tooth sprocket. So we're going to do top speed on each of these, and we'll do some final impressions at the end. Okay guys, we have an open stretch of road, and we are on Reed's bike with a stock controller and 52-tooth sprocket. We have our GPS Speedo here. We're going to give it a run, see what we can get to. All right guys, could you see that speed? We got to right about 38.5 miles an hour. Total top speed, we were on a very slight downhill. So that's what that got, on a very slight downhill. I mean, you could almost call it flat, and I'm gonna go get the other bike with the other controller and we'll see how that does. Okay guys, we are back up at our same testing spot here, and you can tell I'm on my bike from my wrap. So this has the KO controller, 52 tooth sprocket, same as the bike we just tested, sprocket size. Sorry about the sound, or next to the highway here. But let's give this a run. Even just coming up here, riding up to this little spot, a little ways away from the house, the bike's noticeably quicker in that top speed department. So let's see what she can do. I think we'll be around 10 miles an hour faster, maybe just a hair less. I know this speedo's a little dark to see, but I hope it gets a little better once we get up to other light here. All right, that was way faster. Just feels so much faster. I think we are in the upper 48 miles an hour. I think we touched 49 right there at the end. So that's 10 miles an hour faster, which is a huge difference for cruising around. So, all right, we're in our same testing spot. We are now on Alex's family's bike. It is a totally stock bike, stock sprocket, 44 tooth, unlocked, full power. Let's see what she can do. We again got our same GPS on here. So let's see the difference. Okay, here we go. All right, that was kind of hard to tell what we actually got to. I know we were in the mid 45s, but I had to watch where I was going. So we'll go check that footage and see what we got to. Definitely can tell you it's not as fast as the bike with the KO controller, even though my bike has a bigger sprocket, which slows it down. So that's pretty exciting. Okay guys, me and Reed are gonna do a quick little drag race here. I have a 52 tooth rear sprocket and a KO Nano controller on a stock battery. Reed is running the same rear sprocket. Oh no, Reed's running totally stock. Bike. So yeah, Reed's running totally stock bike, stock sprocket, everything. Okay, we're gonna launch this. Alex is gonna follow.
Let's do it.
Okay. Alex, you lined up? Ready?
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. All right guys, as you can see, even with my bigger rear sprocket, I still won that. I still have a higher top speed than even a stock bike with a much smaller sprocket. All right, that is going to wrap up the end of the video here. We did those speed tests on each of the bikes. Just to recap, the fastest bike was the KO controller with the 52 tooth sprocket. We hit a top speed of upper 48 miles an hour, 49 miles per hour GPS. Second fastest was the stock bike with the 44 tooth sprocket, Alex's bike. That one did right around 45 miles an hour. We'll have it up on the screen. And then the slowest was Reed's bike with the stock power and the 52 tooth sprocket, right around 38 miles an hour. And again, that is because of the RPM limit on the stock bikes. So I could even be running a larger chainring on this bike and still have a very similar top speed because the motor just spins faster, but it still is using about the same amount of power to get to that speed. So pretty exciting, pretty happy with that speed. It's awesome to be able to have the bigger sprocket and a little more low-end torque, but still have that top speed that's, 4 or 5 miles an hour faster than even a stock bike. So that's exciting. Again, guys, leave any comments, ask questions about the controller, the setup, and the tune, and we'll be sure to answer those. And there will be more videos coming, so definitely subscribe because Talaria Boys is not going away. Right now we're doing a video every other day. So keep it coming. We've got a goal to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Again, we just started this channel and we're very passionate about riding these bikes and upgrading them. So we hope that you'll join us for this journey. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you next video. See ya.